Mics.
And it's passable, but it's not the best quality.
Mics.
All right, trying to get the YouTube chat,
Mics.
and I'm going to keep saying mics until the YouTube chat shows up. Possible, but it's still no YouTube chat. What's going on, YouTube? There it is. Everybody's got new features today, slowing everything down. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of SEO Fight Club. Um, Today we have a special show. Our very own Honey Witcher is going to talk about AI detection. We are gonna also do some Q&A at the end, so if you have SEO questions that you would like answered, be sure to queue them up early because as of late we haven't been able to get to all questions in every show. So if you want your questions answered, try to answer them earlier rather than later. And I will switch to live chat so I see all messages, not just top messages, and saying hello in the chat. All right. Sorry I'm a few minutes late, everyone. That was my fault. I forgot to set my alarm and I had to scramble. So it's totally my fault. My apologies if you were confused. Let me go ahead and share my screen for a second so that we can get the boilerplate out of the way. So again, I want to say thank you to Madge and Magic PR for helping us learn more about press releases. And so again, this is not a sponsorship that exchanges money. This is a sponsorship where Madge is giving us press releases so that we can do testing of them and we can share what we learn. So that's the nature of this. It's no money changing hands. And we want to bring the value to you so that you can learn more about press releases and what they can and can't do, and what their limitations are, and what their benefits are. And so you can get the best value out of your initiatives. And so we want you to be an informed public. And so we're all working to get you the answers you need to your questions about press releases. So, Madge, what what is developing? I know that you've been adding capabilities to your services. What are some of those new capabilities?
We're hopefully launching digital PR in January. I'm really looking forward to it. We've been doing some thorough testing over October and November. Managed to get 20 featured publications for news stories for Magic PR, and 12 of them were actual links so far. And that's within a month and a half of actually
So,
doing thorough
so
testing.
explain to us what this is in a nutshell. Say we're totally new to this digital PR thing. What is it?
So it's getting brand mentions, features in major publications through a journalist. That's the easy route of saying it. What you need to do is build relationships with these journalists and seeing what topics and what niches they look after. Once you've created those relationships, we then need to find out and establish what stories they're looking for. And if we get a client, say, for example, Ted, you come across and say, Madge, we're in the payday loans niche, we would then do research and find the ideal journalist to work with to get you links for a major publication, whether that's in the US or the UK.
Okay, so just to recap what you just said there, your company historically in the SEO space, someone says, I need a PR.
Mhm.
That they think SEO, PR, press release. So now
Correct.
you're saying more traditionally, you're dabbling in public relations, the other PR.
The other PR.
And so now you're helping people actually win stories in actual press.
Correct. Yes.
All right. So
The,
He's getting PR for the PRs.
yeah. But the whole when I do hopefully do launch it in Jan, and I will mention the full scope of what I'm doing. This is just a small snippet of what I have developed for January, but it's going to be a full-blown service, and it's going to combine 3 or 4 different services of mine into one.
So if you
So,
need PR for your PRs, public relations for your
yeah,
press,
yes.
all right, that's a cool new service.
Thank you.
That's neat. All right. Additionally, spring training's coming up. If you haven't heard about it, it's a good conference. So they have lots of good speakers, lots of good value, lots of good networking. So if you're looking for that tax write-off because your business hasn't had enough expenses, conferences are a great way to take care of those quickly. So you can buy it this year, and it's an expense for this year, even though the conference, well, no, it comes in before the 15th. So yeah, you can work it in. Last chance tax deduction. Check with your accountant on my math, though. I'm not sure about everyone. But all right. With that, let's hand it
Quick
over.
question before we do one is next week, the Tuesday is the 26th, day after Christmas. Will we be having a fight club?
Probably not. Let's take a day off so everyone can be with their families and just have a good holiday. And so we'll pick it up the week after that.
All
Sound good
right.
to everyone?
Sounds good to me. I know it's just a question that's going to come. So
Yeah. Let's take that one off because everyone's gonna be busy anyway. All right, so let me stop sharing and make sure that Honey can take over the screen share. And Honey Witcher, why don't you tell everyone about yourself? I know most people know you, but there might be a few who don't. Oh, I can't hear you. You might be muted.
I am muted
Yeah.
because Lee and I share an office, so we have to be careful how we use our microphones, which is normally the reason why you people hear me talk through his microphone in the background, because we don't usually mess with the long process of setting up microphones.
So,
But today,
yeah, so briefly tell us a little bit about yourself.
well, I come from a construction background where I ran and operated heavy equipment construction for overhead and underground construction. And I also moved into home building, where I built homes. And that's what I actually probably retired from in the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, when the pandemic first started to hit. And we started having supply chain issues, and the world lost their mind. Then I decided to stop dealing with the world, and I came in and started working with Lee. He was like, get out of the field and come help me because I have a lot of work and I think that you'll be good at it. And honestly, I didn't think I would be good at it because I was used to working outside, and I didn't consider myself to be very technical, although I did know that I was a problem solver. So that's always been my superpower, is to recognize and patterns and solve problems.
I've often said that you can become one of the top SEOs in the industry in 2 years. And you've kind of become my go-to example of that being the case.
Yeah.
Because you've done mind-blowing SEO testing, primary research, and finding out, what factors are factors. You've crashed SEO contests and disrupt some of the biggest names in the industries. You are ranking clients to top of page one. Um, you know, am I missing something there? Tell me about that 2 year sub 2 year journey to the top. How was that?
I think one of the other things that you may have missed on Ted is she's also a speaker at conferences now, and
Oh yeah,
one that
that's true.
people are looking for, which is kind of cool to watch as well. I enjoy going and watching her speak.
So what's that journey been like for you?
It's been a little bit of a roller coaster ride because obviously the people that I compare myself to, because they were the only people that I knew, were like Lee and you, Clint Butler, you know, Carolyn Holzman, those, Lisa Parziel, those were kind of the people that I hung around with. And you're all super smart. And I thought I'm never going to know how to do everything, or anything really. I always felt like I was so far behind. But Lee was really very encouraging, because I'm a perfectionist, so I'm really super hard on myself. And that just comes from the construction background. Like mistakes aren't really tolerated very well in construction. And in SEO, I mean, it's pretty much a mistake driven industry. So that's how you learn, is from screwing up. But in construction, if you make big mistakes, people die. So the consequences are different. So that was a mindset that I struggled with, because I dealt with that mindset for 30 years of it needing to be absolutely perfect, everything planned out to a T, optimizing, timelines and all that kind of stuff. And SEO is really pretty fluid, and there's not really a checklist that you can go by very well. It's really a completely different game.
Nice. Thank you for sharing that. I'll let you take over the presentation.
Okay. Can you see my screen? Okay. I wasn't sure because I have my screen up. I can't see the Zoom. So, a lot of several people have been asking me to share this information. When I started the AI detection tool test, it was back in April of 2023, sort of at the height of everybody being super scared about AI detection. And it started because I had read in, I think, a Washington Post maybe article, I can't remember now, where 3 students had been expelled from school, from college, from a university, for being accused of using ChatGPT. And what was the truth on that is, out of those 3 or 4 students, and I can't remember how many it was off the top of my head right now, only one of them had used AI to write their paper. The other 3 did not. And
That's
I
a
was, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say, that's an interesting development because I've been saying a while now, what's the difference between my alphabetical list of states and AI's alphabetical list of states? And there's all kinds of edge cases where human beings and AI would potentially write the exact same things. And the AI is trained on things that human beings wrote and the way that human beings write. I mean, there's bound to be collisions and accidents.
Well, and Lisa Parziel is a perfect example of that, because she went back and ran her old texts and blog posts and everything from a lot of her clients, and almost all of them came back as 100% AI written. And these were articles that were written before AI was a thing. And she said, she jokes and says, I must write like a robot, you know,
Yeah, she's
but
just too close to an average, you know.
right.
It becomes dangerous if you're too average and the average is common.
Yeah, and the other thing is short, simple sentences are, one of the pieces that tends to drive that. And at first AI detectors were really all over, those sort of things. So if you write short, direct, copy, which also converts very well, you're at a danger of having AI say, hey, you know what, AI wrote this. So it's an interesting piece.
So basically, what I did is I took the top um, AI detection tools at the time, and I created a prompt. And I'll go ahead and let me show you the lists that I tested. Okay. So these are the content tools that I tested. I have down here a little asterisk because Ghostbuster is a new one, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But in the beginning, I left one off, which was Originality AI. I'm not sure how I managed to do that, but Originality AI was also one of the ones that I tested. But these were a lot of the free AI detection tools that came out kind of in the beginning. So this is April 2023. And so these were the most common ones that people were using at the time. And what I did was I created some content. And I wanted to test like a bunch of different types of text. So I did one where the prompt was something similar to, write a report, about Napoleon and the 100 Years' War. And so I saved those prompts in my test notes, and all the prompts that I used the exact same prompt on my repeat tests. So I didn't use any prompt engineering. I didn't change the prompt in any way in a lot of the tests. Now, later on, I did do some altering the prompts to see if they could trick AI, and I'll get into that a little bit later because that was in a later test. But basically, I did a historical, report like prompt. I did one that was for like a travel blog because I wanted to see sort of real world blog type things. I did some children's stories. I did like a write like Dr. Seuss. I did a business coach type blog. I also used the creation story, but I also had AI write a creation, write like the Judeo-Christian creation story. And then I did a historical US document. And that was the initial. So I had 7 of them that were human written. And then I had 7 of them that were 100% AI written. I didn't make any changes. I just put in the first prompt, and whatever it gave me is what I took.
All right, so you would kind of expect that these AI tools would do a test like this. Is
You would think.
uh, to your knowledge, has any of them posted like a study?
Originality AI is probably the one that spends the most time advertising how great they are and all the tests that they do. And they also have a blog section on their site where they test their AI detector against other AI detectors.
Okay. Yeah, because I feel like I should have seen more studies out of all these tools, and
Well,
I've seen relatively few.
I'm going to say the interesting thing is Originality AI is working really, really hard to show why AI detection is relevant, because as the tide has shifted in recent months where does it really matter? They're like, yes, it matters, and we're the best, and all of these sort of things. So I get, because I do have credits that I bought way back when they first launched. I still get all of their newsletters and things like that, and where they're just, and we're adding this, and we're adding this, and we're adding this, and we're making the whole system better. But it's almost like they're screaming out there like we're relevant, but we're not seeing, you're not hearing a lot of you're hearing less and less talk about AI detection and originality AI specifically. So, I think they're trying to keep their jobs, but I'm not
Yeah.
sure what the purpose is.
Yeah, with respect to cheating at school, Neil deGrasse Tyson came out with a really elegant solution, and it wasn't these detection tools. Like he doesn't have confidence in them either, and he just said, "Well, I would switch to an oral exam because you have to know it and speak it in front of me."
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, boom, you know.
I find the thing with the schools, the most, I don't know if it's troubling is the right word, but like kids have been able to buy papers online for years and years and years now. Like that's nothing new. The idea that somehow getting it written by AI is now that's the line where we will destroy everything. I find that, I don't know, weird. Maybe it's just because it's cheap and easy, but like that, like cheating on essays is not new. And before the internet, I went to college before the internet. There were kids that would, for money, would write essays and projects for you. So like I don't, I find this appalled, people being appalled that someone used AI. I find a little maybe hypocritical because this is not new. This is people have been trying to cheat at stuff for a while.
Yeah, and I've asked several teachers about it. Like, I was like, my son came up with a strategy that wouldn't be detectable, and how would you guys handle it? His strategy is he could, not saying that he would, but that he could use AI to write a paper, and then he could rewrite it in his own words. And even though he'd have to do the work of rewriting it in his own words, that still gets him 90% of the way there. It's 90% work reduction to make it in his own words. And the teacher is like, I actually don't have a problem with that because he's going to learn information in the act of doing that. And that's oftentimes better than what a lot of the kids are even getting out of the assignments, especially when they don't do them at all. So I would rather have a kid cheat and learn than get an F. And right now, lots of kids are just not doing the work. And it's just kind of crazy that, even the teachers kind of don't give a crap. They don't want the kids to cheat. They want the kids to learn, but it's, to them, it's a happy medium between the kids just not doing the assignment.
Right. Right. So I'm going to kind of jump ahead a little bit to, I repeated this test in October 2023, right before Rockstars. And what I discovered is that, Originality AI probably did the best at detecting AI written content, but they were still, they probably still only averaged, I think on another slide I have that they were only right about 71% of the time, which 71% correct was a lot higher than other people. But where they struggled is on creativity, like the children's stories, and they struggled on the historical documents a lot of times. So what I found interesting is that Originality AI was boasting on their website that they were 99% accurate. And I didn't find that to be very true at all. And they really are most accurate with Chat GPT, but they failed miserably when you ran the exact same prompts through Claude. So what I really let me go back up just a second. When I ran the exact same material that came up in April, like I ran the exact same, not the prompt, but just the output through AI, they got it 100% right. They were 100% correct using the old Chat GPT models. But the new model that came out and the new Claude, they struggled with. So then I just realized that this was a cat and mouse game. You know, the AI writers are going to improve, and then the detection tools are going to have to catch up, you know, and it's just going to be this game, you know, on who's right at the time. And also, if you alter your prompt a little bit, um, and Lee might share what he uses to kind of alter his prompts, it does help in the detection of AI. But because Originality AI was so spot on when I ran the results through, like they were almost 100% right, it made me think that maybe everybody was talking about there being a key, you know, with AI writers that the detectors could catch. But then when I ran the exact same material through like 20 times, their guesses fluctuated, even with the exact same content.
So that's an interesting piece, because what she did basically was take a prompt and run it 20 times to have the same prompt create 20 different output, and the output varied wildly in detection. You know, the percent AI written, anywhere from 100% human written to 100% AI written, and everywhere in between, which is weird, because what it means is that, you know, any given prompt that you have, if you run it again, it might get better or worse at fooling the AI detection. It's not the prompt, it's, you know, the particular output.
And this is a concept I think a lot of people don't realize about AI and their prompts, is that there's volatility in the quality of the output from these tool sets. So these models, they don't always give you the same answer, and some of the answers are much lower quality than other answers. And that quality could be gauged on a number of different things: the accuracy of the data, the detectability of the AI. You know, there's all kinds of things that it's going to have volatility in the output that it's creating. Um, and yeah, that's a big problem on both sides, for both detection and for these large language models.
Am I on now? I
Yep.
can tell you that I almost gave up on doing this test because I didn't really think people cared that much about AI detection. And one of the reasons why I didn't think people cared was that, you know, even in Google search, in their guidelines, they had changed um, what they considered to be helpful, right? So before, they said helpful content was written by people for people in search results. And then they changed it to it's just helpful content created for people. And they
Yeah.
eliminated the by people. And I
Yeah.
thought even Google doesn't care. And then I realized that a lot of people didn't catch this. So that's the reason why I'm sharing it again, is
And
that they eliminated it themselves.
this slide is more important than people realize, because there is a vast majority of people out there that are thinking and hoping for Google to drop the hammer on AI written content. And Google, on numerous occasions, has said the opposite. They're not saying we're going to punish AI content. They're saying, no, our AI content is better. They're going the other way on that issue.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, if you're an SEO out there who hates AI and is fearful of it and is mad about it, and you're assuming that Google's going to come to your rescue on it, I don't think that's going to happen.
No, and a lot of the stuff that the research that I've done looking at AI, the quality of the output from an SEO perspective, how rankable it is, depends largely on the corpus that it was trained on. So something where there's an extensive corpus, it does a good job of writing content that is SEO'd well and has a chance of, ranking reasonably well. But most of it doesn't. Most of it is fairly average. You're at the middle of the bell curve, and it's not being trained on, the top 10 results. It's being trained on everything that was in the corpus, which means, if there's 1.4 million documents that rank for wool socks, your article is going to be about in that 700,000 range. It's not going to be the best SEO content. So I think that my guess is that Google looks at this and goes, yeah, it's a nightmare to have to process this because people have just turned on the faucets on having, AI write, entire blogs and, entire websites. But it's not a problem in terms of affecting the quality of results. If you believe that Google really cares about the quality of results, this stuff's not going to rank. So, it's going to score low. So why would they care about how you wrote it?
Yeah, and the training issue is also interesting. Like there's a whole next level on the possibility of students cheating. And that let's say you have to write a book report on The Catcher in the Rye, you can get that book in a PDF format. You can train a custom GPT on the PDF. Now, all of a sudden, you can summarize, you can ask questions of the documents, you can look up specific answers with a question style prompt, you can outline, you can summarize story arcs, you can, you know, all of a sudden, you have this productivity tool that's designed for, book reports. Um,
Exactly. Well, I feel like if we have students that develop the ability to create custom chat GPT or, models, AI models, then that's way better than them being able to regurgitate, information about a book, as far as I'm concerned. Because like Charles said, people have been cheating way before, or getting help from other people or getting papers written for other people way before AI detection came out, as far as AI detection for content. Now, do I think that AI detection is going to be important in other ways? 100%. I think it's going to be great to be able to detect, cybersecurity threats. It's going to be great, I mean, I think that there's other AI detection that'll be really important for us to have in fighting propaganda and that kind of stuff. But as far as detecting content for academic reasons or even for professional reasons, if you're getting the result that you need, especially professionally, who cares if AI helped a person write it? If you're, sharing information that's valuable to the company or to the person for search intent.
Well, and there was a time where, if you had to read Catcher in the Rye, it was considered cheating if you listened to the audiobook version of it on 2x speed.
Oh yeah, we use Cliff Notes.
So, yeah, there's this whole spectrum of cheating that's evolving.
Listen, I was an athlete, and what people don't really understand fully, I think, about athletes in upper academic areas, college, is that we are a lot of our time is controlled by coaches. So you have lots of training, you have practices, and you have games, and a lot of those are out of town. And not to date myself, but I'm going to. When I was in college, we didn't have computers. We were doing everything on a typewriter. And you know what you can't do in a gym? You can't haul your typewriter to another gym to write your papers. Like, you had to have help. You had to. We didn't have email to get our assignments turned in or any of that kind of stuff. We had to work the system the best way that we could in order to keep our grades so that we could play ball.
Yeah, I hated the typewriter era.
Oh
I
my
was
God.
prone to typos, man. It just sucked.
Well, funny side story. I purposely did not take typing in school because to me, girls who did typing ended up being secretaries. And there was no way in hell I was going to be a secretary. Like, that just wasn't going to happen. And so I sabotaged myself by not giving myself the ability to type in order to prevent me from, taking a job like that.
Well, you
Anyway,
closed one door to force yourself through other doors, and that's
well,
that's a
that's
decent
exactly,
strategy, actually. It
yeah,
did hurt you, but it probably helped you too. Got you
yeah,
where
Well,
you wanted to be.
the interesting thing is now periodically she'll go, I wish I'd have taken those damn typing classes.
Yeah, and in hindsight, you should take them now that you know you're never gonna be a secretary.
Well, I've figured out a way to type. It may not be perfect, but it works for me. And actually, now that you can just you have talk to text now, you almost don't even have to type at all. But I tell you, I thought that the whole detection tool thing was gone, and then we noticed that they developed a thing called Ghostwriter. And for people who do care about AI detection tools, originality costs money and Ghostwriter is free.
Wow,
And
and we're seeing these percentages you're showing are the correctness of outcome.
yes. Yeah, so
And
Ghostwriter has a higher correctness, um, catches currently catches AI with Chat GPT models and Claude better than Originality AI
and this is
currently.
and this is combined stats. So of the 14, so you had 7
7 were AI
AI,
written.
7 human. Overall, it got the humans right and the AIs right.
Correct. Yeah. So what would happen is that the human detection, they got it right, but on the AI, what it said on the historical document was it was 66% AI written
Now, some of
instead of being
these
100%. On these are 100% AI written articles 1 through 7, and this is what it came back as AI, the percentage of AI written. So it was 100%. Ghostwriter said it was 66%. Originality AI said it was 1%.
So some of these systems have a heck if I know scale in the middle. Did
Mm-hmm.
that come into play with these services?
Yeah, some of them are very black and white, but the better ones give you a range. I believe the better AI detection tools give you a range. Like, this is about 90% or this is 60%, something like that. Some of them are black and white. It'll either say AI or human. But Originality AI, Ghostwriter, and those are the main ones that probably do the best job, and they give you a percentage, which I think is good. But if people want to really see if they care about whether or not it shows up AI detected, then Ghostwriter is your best bet right now.
So,
I think the
honey,
interesting,
I,
oh, go
no,
ahead. I was
I
going
was
to
just
say
gonna
real
say,
quick.
so honey, I know that you didn't try to do any special prompts in this. have you run any tests for the various kind of ways that are floating around on the internet that, oh, if you do this, it'll beat the AI detection if you do this? Have you found any of those being, if you've done any tests, have you found any of those being more successful than others? Have you found that they blow away these AI detections, or has it been various degrees of success?
So this is what I've discovered. What'll happen is with the specialized prompts, instead of it saying 100% AI written, it might say, oh, it's 70% AI. That's what I've discovered with the prompts. It just won't give you 100% or a 90%. But the best way to check is just to, if you're concerned about it, is to go to the Ghostwriter app, which was developed by a college. I'll look up the address real quick so that we can share, although I think that people can find it pretty easy. Is that the Ghostwriter, I think it's ghostwriter.api, I mean app, is that's currently the best one. But like I said, all these AI models, they catch up to whatever the current content writers do, and then a new version of the content writing comes out, and it produces better AI content, and the AI detectors can't detect it, but then they tweak their model and it catches up. So it's this constant cat and mouse game.
Now, the other interesting thing, if you look at this, and you saw this in the earlier data as well, there were some types of content that it struggled with, like Article 4, I forget what that one was, but both detections, failed on that one. But in Article 7, which was another historical document, Ghostwriter struggled on that one. ChatGPT nailed it. And I think part of it is that you saw the variability. If you use one prompt, the output can vary in terms of the detectability of it. And I think sometimes these models can struggle with certain types of content, certain types of output that they get wrong. So again, the story is, it's better. Ghostwriter is clearly better, but looking at the 90s and the 66 and the 4%, it's far from perfect. It's far from enough information to say, damn it, Ted, that email that you sent to me was definitely AI written, and I'm feeling a little certain something. It's certainly not enough to get people, thrown out of a university or out of a job.
Well, I think these universities need a hybrid approach. So you tell the student, hey, you need to write a report on the Catcher in the Rye, and then the report the teacher gets back, it comes back, hey, this was written by AI, and then it's like, well, if you pass the AI detection, you don't have to take the oral exam. And so you just have a fallback of, if you fail the AI detection, you take the oral exam, and that conversation is going to bring out the truth as to who understands the material and who just did an AI report. It doesn't even have to go to, I'm going to kick you out of school. It's going to reflect in your grade. You're going to get an F if you don't know the story.
So
I
sorry,
think
I
it is going to change the way that we educate. The thing is that what's the important thing that you're trying to teach? Teach them how to write a paper, or are you trying to teach them to understand something specific?
Yeah, and the problem kind of is at a meta layer is you have kids in a literature class using engineering to get around the literature homework. And on one hand, it's good that they're, excelling at being good little engineers, but it's not great for their overall well-rounded education.
I think one of the things that's been happening at schools, I have older kids and I have some friends with slightly older kids. And so the schools ran into a problem about 15 years ago. You could go online to find the answers to all the tests. And then if you went to a large like university, you could literally find the test online with the answers. There are still sites today that have those kinds of things. And so they shifted to an essay model. They said, okay, multiple choice questions don't work anymore. We have to give people essays. And that was working fine for a few years. And now suddenly AI comes along and completely destroyed their system. So like you said, Ted, they either they have a choice. They have to change how they operate, or radically change how they operate, or just try to scare everybody into compliance. And they seem to be picking with the scare everybody into compliance model right now. Because I know I have kids in high school, and they come back and the teacher's like, we're going to put this in there, and if it comes up with anything more than a certain percentage, you fail automatically. And I've talked to some of the teachers, and I've asked them, I said, have you ever put the Bill of Rights in an AI detection? And they give me a look, and I'm like, try it out, see what happens sometime. Because they put a lot of faith in these tools that, as we can see right here, are not 100%.
Yep. And the fear model, it doesn't scale. Let's talk about keyword stuffing. You can get a manual action for keyword stuffing, but how scary is a manual action when there are 200 trillion URLs on the web? It's ridiculous. The fact that
Right.
that isn't solved by AI and automation is a really big process. You can't manually police keyword stuffing on 200 trillion URLs. And so, if fear of a penalty was enough, then that system would be working and there'd be no keyword stuffing online. But fear of the penalty is proportional to the effectiveness of the enforcement. And the manual policing of 200 trillion obliterates the fear. And so the same thing is happening with AI detection. The AI gets better at beating it. Kids can rewrite it. There's a million ways to get around it. The fear won't exist.
No. And Honey was being snarky earlier this summer when these AI detectors were all coming out saying, "Hey, we're the best at it," and she was like, "You know what? There's an army of middle school and high school students out there that will spend days and nights working endlessly to figure out how to beat the detector so they don't spend an hour writing a paper, and then they will share that information all over the internet." So any AI detector that comes out and does a reasonable job will be defeated within 2 weeks by this, million man army of reverse engineers.
Well, this was a very cool presentation. Thank you for sharing this. It's kind of eye-opening on several levels. So the fact that the AI tools, we kind of knew going in that was going to kind of be a bit of a shit show, because we, a little bit of history, kind of knew it wasn't going to be great. But the really interesting findings are that when you run your prompts, you're going to get very volatile outcomes in terms of quality of response. I don't think people realize that you might need to re-roll your prompts to get a good one. And so
You see
that's,
some of it out in the wild because people will complain. They're like, "Are you seeing it right? Worse stuff." And I thought, well, the more you use it, the worse it gets sometimes.
yeah. So that's a really interesting finding. And what the new kid in town, the ghost writer, where
Mhm.
do people find that? I think somebody was trying to find it. Is there a
Let me
domain
look real
for it?
quick. There is.
Hypotenuse.ai.
So, Honey, you've inspired me. I'm going to start taking corporate prospectuses and corporate communications and putting them into AI detections and see if people are doing this. See if large corporations are doing this for their communications. I bet they are.
Yeah, I mean, AI is a helpful tool if you know what you want to say and you just want help wordsmithing it. I mean, you can take that information and get a quality outcome if you're good at the prompt writing.
Okay, so here's the site. It's ghostbuster.app backslash. So it's HTTPS ghostbuster.app.
There you go, if you're looking for that app. All right, let's get to a few questions here. Let's see. Green Worker asks, how do I do interlinking for a big e-commerce website? Clint says he does not do interlinking in an automated way. On e-commerce, I totally do, and it's hiding in plain sight. Let's say you have a product page that is a puppy, Monday morning sad puppy coffee mug, comical coffee mug. You got a couple things going on there. It's puppy themed, so you might have other puppy themed coffee mugs. You might have other puppy themed related products, so t-shirts and mouse pads, whatever. You might have other animal themed coffee mugs. You might have popular coffee mugs. You might have popular products. You might have bestsellers. These upselling widgets are going to interlink your e-commerce website in very relevant ways. They're going to bring more coffee mug keywords onto your page. They're going to bring more puppy dog keywords onto your page. So your upselling carousels are your primary siloing, combined with your main nav and your footer nav. What do you think, Lee?
I think those are all, great ways. I think a lot of times what people are looking for is something like Ghost Whisper, Link Whisper, things like that, that, you can just automatically do it. But the problem is you have to have intelligence built into it. And some of the things that I've seen that tend to automate those can break as many things as they help. So for e-commerce, I would go with the categorical widgets like you were talking about there, and it takes care of most of what you need.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, let's say interlinking gives you 100 ranking points. Just using the upselling carousels and a main nav is probably going to get you 80 or 90% of what you can get. So searching for the perfect link geometry is really all about getting that last 10%. And is the ROI on that going to be worth all that time investment? What do you think, Charles? You do a lot of navigation tuning, enterprise scale.
Yeah, it's e-commerce is definitely easier because you have a very specific structure. Um, it's everything sets in these very certain categories and subcategories. There's not a lot of deviation. Um, with that said, there are ways you can scale it. I'm not a big fan of a lot of these automated tools. They say they're going to solve every problem in the world, and they don't end up solving every problem in the world. As a matter of fact, sometimes they create more problems. I know um, Walmart had a problem with it years ago where it was creating things based on searches. Problem is, people were searching, the wording of the way people were searching ended up being problematic for the categories, and they made categories that sounded racist. And I don't think that's what people were trying to do when they were searching. It just sounded bad. Um, we do a combination of making sure that we have a very specific cross-linking and siloing structure. We also do a lot of training with our writers to make sure they understand here is when you would link to something, here's when you would not link to something. We have some very specific rules. So it's manual, but there's a very specific rule structure to when would you go to a category page versus another article.
Yeah, that's one of those cross-site scripting attack angles. If you turn site search keywords into indexable web pages, that's how people are selling their drugs on your website. So, yeah, don't do that. I mean, it was a clever SEO idea, but it's terrible for your brand and your security. Um, All right, let's see. Even if I link to related products, this will be an automated way to interlink. Well, I think that's fine. It's so common, every store on earth does it. You have to keep in mind that Clint is not an e-com. So, he's not going to do a lot of e-com things for most websites. He would probably do them for e-com sites, like he would change his game up if he was doing e-com SEO. But for, an electrician or a restaurant franchise, he's not going to pull out the e-com playbook. And so you gotta take the advice with a grain of salt. It's all coming from a context for a certain type of business with a certain type of problem, and all of that information matters. So you're taking a quote from Clint and you're trying to apply it to all websites and all problems, and that's not quite correct. What do you think, Lee?
I agree. I mean, everybody's got, and there's multiple ways to handle situations as well. I've often said, if Clint wrote a page and you wrote a page and I wrote a page, they could all rank and they would be completely different pages. So, internal linking, there's different ways of doing that, just like there are in creating a page. So I wouldn't think that Clint would be opposed to internal linking. He just doesn't like the automated style, probably because he's had experience with some of the automated tools creating more problems than it solved.
And I bet there are situations where he would probably say, hey, this automated tool is the right solution for the job. It's not like he's, religiously against it. It's just the problem needs to meet with the solution in the right circumstances.
Yeah, most top SEOs that I know are very pragmatic. They just want a solution that works and performs better than not doing the solution.
Yep. All right. Is there a limit on how many exact match anchors I should build to a target page? Yeah, there is. There's this whole penguin algorithm that's kind of punishing based on your anchors. So you need diversity. You do want exact match. They're powerful. So it's part of the ranking score that a lot of people neglect, and it's a powerful part of it. So you want it in there. It's some level, but you don't want to go 100% at scale. If you're dealing with a small amount of backlinks and you're gonna do it once and you're not gonna do any more link building, you can sometimes get away with it. All right. So it's small, tiny scales. There's not a lot to fear, but if you end up doing more of it, then you have to diversify your anchor text out of an abundance of caution because of algorithms like Penguin. What do you think, Charles? You have to deal with anchor text at scale.
Yeah, so I was thinking my snarky response was, yeah, send as many links as you want. It can't hurt your site, but that's not true. You definitely can hurt your sites by sending too many links. Yeah, I'm in the enviable position that we don't worry about building links for the most part to our site. There are pages that we want to boost. We typically find that internally we can link and we can, linking is all we need to do internally. So I don't, we don't actively go out there and try to build links. I know a guy who built a tool that looks at the correlation between multiple different websites for a keyword, and that's Ted's core tool if no one realizes. But but it does, you can see how are what are your competitors doing? You don't want to stand apart from the crowd. So if all your competitors have 100 links and you have one, you need more links. If all your competitors have 100 links and you have 1,000, pump the brakes, slow down, stop linking. There's a time and a place for everything. It goes back to that pragmatic point that we were making earlier, where you do what works and you do what makes sense. Links is not always the answer. Actually, I found often links is not the answer.
And you brought up a good point with the internal links. Exact match and internal links is extremely common and a lot safer. You're doing exact match with your categories in your main navigation, and they're site-wide on all pages. And your footer links are probably exact match and site-wide
Yep.
on all pages.
And those
So,
kind of links, the nice thing about the internal links is you can't over optimize in the sense that you won't get penalized, but you can hit a point of diminishing returns. You can build 100 links and it'll do great, 200 links, not so great, 300 links will not move you at all. And then that's where you got to start looking at your system and your website. It's like, okay, can I diversify my footer links? Can I make my footer links different on different pages so I can diversify the anchor text on it?
yeah, exactly. So just note that internal links much safer than external. Let's see. When interlinking 900 a 900 city pages website, do I use the city name as the anchor text or the keyword? Um, well, it would be hard to answer that without looking at like kind of the whole ecosystem. Because are these pages are they trying to be authoritative sources for a city? Like, is it city information? Or is it a dentist directory and it's really a dentist site that kind of breaks down into cities? Because those are two different things. And so you could have an answer that says, oh, if you're all about what to do in a big city, then yeah, try to win the bigger city terms. But if you're just dentists in multiple locations, then you kind of want to win the dentist terms, right? What do you think, Lee?
The answer that I always give people to this question is go and look at locksmiths or garage door repair in top 20 cities. I would stay out of New York and LA because those are kind of weird ecosystems, and just take 3 or 4 of the top ranking sites, and then you'll start to see the patterns and how they do it, and they're ranking well in top cities. So just model what the successful people are doing in the big markets.
All right. In general, when it comes to interlinking, what do most people do wrong for both e-commerce and affiliate? I generally don't see a lot of wrong in the act of linking. What I see wrong is in the choice of anchor text. So the most common problem is people will pick a keyword that's way too general. So they will link to something like, they'll call their category GIFs, and they're never going to rank for a keyword like GIFs. Or they're going to go way too specific and they're going to call their category gifts and delights. And now all of a sudden it's a keyword that gets no search volume. And so really what you probably want to do is find a happy medium on that gifts category and call it, unique gift ideas. There's a keyword where you can target actual shoppers and you can win it and rank number one. So if you go through and audit your anchor text and make sure they're things that A, you can win, and B, have search volume, you can probably lift all boats just on a names of things audit. And that's a good thing to do in e-commerce. And then once you do the categories, go back through and do it with the products too, because the majestic auburn snufflers probably aren't flying off the shelf. And if you just call them an orange scarf, you'll probably move more units. Any thoughts on that question? All right.
Yeah, the one that I see people do is the one that I see, Ted, that people often do with their internal stuff is they will just use the same anchor text over and over again. They don't have a diversity of anchors. So I want to rank my page for electrician near me. So I use that everywhere site wide. So I've got, 40 links that say electrician near me internally and nothing else. So, change it up a little bit, use some of those variations.
So I'm gonna go out on a limb here and guess that Clint talked about interlinking on his show. All right. When interlinking is using a jump link, okay to interlink from one page to another. So jump to a point of the page. Yeah, I think it's fine. I think Googlebot knows that it needs to ignore the jump anchor. At least it used to know that. Ever since passage indexing, there's been more doubt in this area. So, how well do we know the mind of Google right now? And it's still not very well, but I don't see a lot of hazard to using jump links. I've certainly haven't heard any accountings of that, massively hurting people. So if there is that threat, I think it's relatively uncommon. What do you think, Lee?
That one it depends on how you implement it. If you just use it as, an anchor on this page pointing to a section of that page, that's awesome. But a lot of times what people will do is they'll take those table of contents links and then they'll think, man, instead of just putting it on this page, I'll grab all the table of contents links for all my pages and I'll just do a massive table of contents thing underneath all the pages so everybody links to everybody. And the problem is that's templated, much like navigation links, and those get discounted when Google looks at your page. So, don't be stupid with it. But yes, if you want to do some of those, targeted links within your content going to parts of a page, that's awesome.
All right. So, Richest Domain says he's looking for the best AI writer for content on multiple service websites. So, I guess we'll go around the table for what you're using for your best AI writing. Currently, I'm still using ChatGPT. I've been pretty happy with it. And it's pretty low cost. I know there are cool services like Human Writer that are very popular. So if I was going to pay, I'd probably dabble in that direction. What about you, Lee?
Same too. Actually, Mohammed, the guy that developed Human Writer, has a thing called Zista. It's Zizta.com, and he's got kind of a Human Writer AI hybrid within there, and it does. I'm impressed with the quality of the content that comes uh, out of that. But most of the time, I use ChatGPT, and most of the time, you still have to, do some editing. There's no automatic, here's the perfect output tool. And if there was, we'd all be out of business anyway.
So what are you using, Charles?
I used to use Jasper a lot, but I moved over to just ChatGPT using a bunch of different prompts that I thought up until today would keep me safe from the AI detection. But I have some tests I need to run now, though. So, but to Lee's point, you can't garbage in, garbage out. You can't create a perfect prompt that's going to give you perfect content. You still have to review it. You still have to make sure it's saying things that make sense, that it's not making things up. But yeah, I'm pretty much just a ChatGPT guy now.
What about you, honey? I know you're making lots of pages.
Well, likely I use ChatGPT still a lot. I do like Claude. Um, but I break mine down into, I might give me an outline, and then I split out that outline and just say, okay, write about this one topic instead of it trying to output like an entire thing. I don't ever tell it, say, write me 1,000 or 2,000 words about this. I usually say, give me an outline about this topic. And then I ask it to write, 300 to 500 words on each heading. And that usually works really well.
Let's see.
Although we are starting to dabble in Gemini because I'm really super. Uh, I loved their what they say it can do. It's a little bit scary because it looked very intuitive, which was a little creepy, but it makes me want to use it more.
Derek is saying the thing is AI is trying to become as human as possible, aka undetectable. The detectors are constantly wrong as well. And I think you're right. It's going to be an ongoing arms race. As AI gets better, the detectors need to counter. And so it'll constantly be in a fail state. Let's see.
Especially these AI detectors that charge money. They have to stay. I know every time a new chat GPT model comes out, they're scrambling at their company trying to figure out how to detect it. I mean, it's keeping people in jobs, I suppose.
Yeah, that would be very scary on the engineering if you're constantly out of business unless you solve it. That's a terrifying mode of operation.
There's an interesting one. Madge posted in chat that he uses Gemini. Madge, are you willing to? Oh, he's gone now. He went away. I was going to ask him what kind of results he had seen with playing with it because it's only been available for a minute or two. So
So Richest Domain says at Craig Campbell's Digital Unfiltered Las Vegas event, was advised SEO Fight Club, a great stream to learn. So he's happy to catch the stream live. Well, great. Thank you.
That's what
Yeah.
I tell, by the way, that's what I tell everybody. They're like, how did you progress? So, what can I do to get better at SEO? And I tell them the same thing that you told me, Ted. Uh, W3 schools, learn a little bit of HTML. And really, the hardest part for me was learning the vocabulary. Like SEO has its own language, and its vocabulary isn't even industry wide recognized. I mean, a lot of the fights out there are over different interpretations of the same concept and what you call it. And listen to Fight Club. Those were the things that I tell people to do if you wanted to get to advance the fastest way. This is where you go.
Let's see. Derek says on jump links, I've noticed in Search Console that the keyword ranks will move URLs to the page and then the page slash number or page slash anchor link. But it's not a big deal as the same page is still ranking. So yeah, your logging systems may or may not handle the anchors, so you may split your traffic in the logging backend. So that's kind of what he's describing there. So yeah, it could create a problem if you're trying to roll up all your numbers, but typically that's only a problem if you're selling ads, because then you like the consolidated numbers on things. But in general, probably not the end of the world. Um, just noticing Google is indexing and tracking jump links more. Yeah, they've had special handling for them where they would use a jump link and highlight passages and lots of little features that they've been playing with around those. They even make their own jump links to certain parts of the page. So yeah, a lot of features in play there. And Richest Domain says, have fallen behind on the latest AI writers. Thank you so much, Ted Lee, Charles Honey, for the advice on how to use them. Very helpful. Gemini is new to me. Yeah, that one's new to me too. It's hard to keep up with all of them. Great. All right, so that's our show for today. Next Tuesday, we are not having a show, so take the day off, sleep late, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.